is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this 2-game wildcard NFL 115 slate on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. This is only the 2-game slate, so there's multiple slates going on. I think there's all 6 games combined in the one slate. But I know from a DraftKings perspective, you guys like the quick hitters, the ones that are going to pay out instantly. So that's why we're covering the slate. Also, you guys will notice that TJ's not with me. That's because TJ's Patriots are playing, and he'll just throw bias into this. Like, this Patriots suck. They're not good at DFS. They're not good offensively. They're not going to win this game. They're going to get blown out by the Bills. I'm only kidding, but he's just not able to make it because he's going to be watching the Patriots game tomorrow and doesn't have time to record that. So let's now focus on this NFL 2-game slate. I'm actually pretty excited to do this because this is the first time I've covered an NFL slate in a long time. It feels like a month now. But yeah, I'll be covering some of the showdown slates also on dgfantasy.com. We'll be doing the NFL showdowns, featured showdowns, as well as the 2-game NFL slates. All that's covered. $20 a month gives you access to our ownership projections, our actual projections. And if you guys sign up for our $30 membership, you get a $20 voucher to any Fantasy Cruncher product. That is the optimizer I'm using in front of me. If you guys live under a rock, you don't know what Fantasy Cruncher is. It's one of the best optimizers. It is the best optimizer in the entire industry. By far, so many things you can do to crunch lineups. You can alter your projections. You can stack teams. You can do all that good stuff. I have so many tutorials online if you guys are interested in finding out more. All that is on our Fantasy Cruncher settings tutorial list, and also just basic DFS knowledge is on our DFS 101 playlist. So I've been talking your head off here for a little bit. I'll also be going over my favorite prize pick here on the slate. When I do get to them, I do have a favorite prize pick entry here for you. If you guys haven't signed up for prize picks, it's an app where you simply hit the over or under on any certain fantasy projection or player prop, and that's how you play and win. A very simple way to play DFS today. We are partnered with Prize Picks, and their code using DGF. You get a $100 match. Up to a $100 match if you guys deposit using our code. Now let's talk about the slate, though. We have 4 games, so 4 total quarterbacks to choose from here. We're just going to be going down the line talking about which one makes the most sense. Josh Allen here has the worst matchup. He's playing in a game here against against New England Patriots, where he's a 4-point favorite, a 44 over under. This is the last game on the slate, but he's also the highest owned and also the highest price. So that might not make sense, but you got to look at it from a DFS perspective here. Josh Allen does have that rushing upside, and these other quarterbacks do not. They just simply don't take off using their legs that often. And he just is known for that. And he's also known for scoring touchdowns in the red zone using his legs. So a lot of sheer upside. I get that they are a 24 over under, but that's actually the second highest on the slate. If all things go according to plan here, he still should have a decent game. So he's also showing the highest owned. He's the highest priced guy, and he does have a decent amount of upside despite the matchup here versus the Patriots. If this was a 12-game NFL slate, I'd be like, heck no, I'm not playing Josh Allen. But we're looking at 4 total quarterbacks here. He is the more obvious choice here. If you're looking for safety, you're looking for the rushing upside. That being said, Joe Burrow could easily go out and outperform him, especially if this game does end in a shootout, which is a lot more likely than the other game there with New England. So this game is a 48.5 over under. It is a higher total here by 4.5 points. So Joe Burrow and Derek Carr should be throwing the ball a decent amount of the game. They're a pretty balanced offense in general. But the game total is higher. Both these defenses are worse than the opposing game that we're looking at here with the Buffalo Bills and New England Patriots. So a lot of offense to be had here. However, Joe Burrow doesn't possess that rushing upside. At least he doesn't rush that often. 32.1% ownership is what he's showing, which is barely lower than Josh Allen. So your lineup is going to come down to choosing between these 2 higher-priced quarterbacks, at least for cash. A $7,900 Josh Allen or a $7,300 Joe Burrow. Now, my assumption here is that, again, you're going to be deciding between these 2 in cash, and in GPPs, you should be really targeting Joe Burrow, Derek Carr, and Mac Jones for those stacks to push you ahead. There's going to be so many Buffalo Bills stacks there with Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, and they're going to be very high owned. But you're going to be asking me who my favorite overall play is. I'm probably going to pick my quarterback last in the pecking order because I honestly probably can't choose between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. They're just so obvious in my opinion here, just based on these two guys. He has the rushing upside there with Josh Allen. Joe Burrow is the higher over under, and obviously should get it done there. So personally, I'm picking my quarterback last. Derek Carr also makes a decent amount of sense. I could end up with Derek Carr in my lineup depending on who I lock in here, and I will decide that here at the very end of this video. Derek Carr, $5,800 also does make sense because he's going to be playing from behind. The game script does definitely favor him. He should be throwing a majority of the game. And that does bode well from a DFS perspective. Now, the one guy I really don't have too much interest in whatsoever is Mac Jones. Just straight up, like, Josh Allen should outperform him pretty well, even if the Patriots do win this game. The Patriots are just known for utilizing all their weapons, utilizing 3 different running backs, and also wide receiver wise, like, anybody could go out and score a touchdown. We always see a different wide receiver, I feel like, score every single game. So Mac Jones just doesn't. He's just not that appealing. If the Patriots are going to win this game, it's going to be ground and pound. It's going to be down your throat football. It's going to be because of their defense. And Mac Jones is going to score 10 to 15 points max. Like, that's the way it's going to work. So if you're looking for upside, I'm not on Mac Jones. Anything's possible in DFS. They could go out and score 50 points, sure. But more than likely, probably not. I'm not high on Mac Jones outside of bigger GPPs, especially for stacking. All right, let's move over to the running back position here. We have about 5 running backs that make a lot of sense here. So let's go down the list here. Joe Mixon showing the highest owned at 64.2%, which is like the highest owned by far. He has an 18-point projection according to Prize Picks. Josh Jacobs, $6,600 at 52%. They are the highest owned, but they're also the most pricey. So Joe Mixon does make sense. I'm not really high on him. I'm not really low on him. I'm just kind of neutral on him. If he happens to end up in my lineup, that's just an okay spot because you don't really know what the Bengals are going to do. They're a very balanced offense, and honestly, they've been passing more often than not as of late. So an 18-point projection for me for Joe Mixon, it might be a little bit too aggressive. But Josh Jacobs, we can guarantee he's going to see volume because he is the bell cow back. Not saying that Joe Mixon isn't, but Josh Jacobs has been getting so much volume, especially at that $500 discounted price tag, $6,600 in a game where they should be playing from behind. He's been getting targets out of the backfield as well. So Josh Jacobs at $6,600 does become more appealing in my eyes, just from a volume perspective. And he's hit over 15, 18, 25 over the past 3 games in the game script that's pretty similar to the one we're about to see here. So I do like Josh Jacobs there at $6,600. He's probably going to become one of my first locks here on the slate. Same thing with Devin Singletary. Singletary has a horrible matchup here versus the Patriots. But guys, he's been doing everything for this offense ever since Zach Moss has been announced taking that back seat to Singletary. He's been getting involved in the passing game, but he's been seeing a ton of attempts in terms of rushing. 22, 12, 23, 19 attempts the past 4 games. And that is my first prize pick entry that I do like here on the slate. It's going to be Devin Singletary at 13. Oh, these are the NBA projections I had pulled up earlier. It's going to be Devin Singletary. Right now he's projected at 13 points, prize picks points. I need to find him first. There he is. I'm going to hit the over on that. The volume alone does not make sense in my eyes here for a 13 fantasy point projection. I think that should be closer to 16 because the probability that Devin Singletary is involved a lot in this game is very, very high. Yes, Zach Moss historically does do well against the Patriots, but again, this is Devin Singletary's team. At least that's what the coach has said here, and they've been giving him a ton of volume here in this offense. I really like Devin Singletary, and honestly, I might lock him in here at $5,800. I get the matchup's not good, guys. I get that. But the volume alone, if you're looking for a cheaper option here, $5,800, which is significantly cheaper than both of the running backs that we've already talked about, but also getting just as much volume, just makes a lot of sense here. $5,800, 13-point projection. Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson. Be my guest. Take a stab at one of them. If I had to pick one, it'd be Damian Harris at $6,400. The volume probably will be there, but again, it's a Bill Belichick offense. We have no idea what to expect. So if you're looking for consistency, you're looking for a sure bet, I would go with Devin Singletary, Josh Jacobs, or Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is probably the least of my favorite. I know he's showing the highest own because of the way that the offense rolls there with the Bengals. It could be a total pass game. It could be all Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and you might see no Joe Mixon. But guess what? We're going to see a lot of Josh Jacobs, and we probably will see a lot of Devin Singletary based on what we've seen the past 3 weeks. So Josh Jacobs, my favorite, Devin Singletary, and then Joe Mixon. Switching over to the wide receiver position here, this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing because T. Higgins showing the highest owned here at the wide receiver position. I completely agree with that. So let's just compare. Let's actually break this down in terms of the Bengals wide receivers. Why is he showing the highest owned? They have the highest team total here on the slate. T. Higgins, higher owned than Jamar Chase. It's because the fantasy point projection right now for Jamar Chase is 16.5. T. Higgins is 14.5. It's because of the price tag. 2-point difference, but T. Higgins is $1,600 cheaper than Jamar Chase, which makes so much sense on why he's higher owned. Jamar Chase is still high owned. He's still 40.2% owned, but I love T. Higgins, and I also love Tyler Boyd here as a cheap option. If we take a look here at the snap counts, I pulled them up for this point alone. Jamar Chase still plays the entire game. We know that. Plays 90+% of the snaps every single game. And then that's T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. They're playing about 75 to 80% of the snaps consistently here throughout the season. That's not a huge drop-off, but the price tags are. Tyler Boyd is $4,600 here. He could easily break the slate wide open if he catches a touchdown, which again could definitely happen in this game script. 35.3, and his fantasy point projection at 10 points. I'm going to be hitting the over on Prize Picks yet again. That is my favorite over. From the wide receiver position, Tyler Boyd 10 fantasy points, and also Devin Singletary 13. And they're code using DGF again for a 100% match to $100. And those are the three Bengals players. They're from the highest over under. They're pretty safe. And if we look at it from a pecking order perspective, I do like T. Higgins at $6,200. I love Tyler Boyd from at $4,600, and then I also like Jamar Chase at $7,800. Just the price tags make it very hard to land on Jamar Chase. Now we need to talk about some other noteworthy candidates. Stephon Diggs doesn't have a good matchup. I don't think he's going to be as high owned as we would expect. Jamar Chase is projected to score more points. He's also a little bit more expensive, but Stephon Diggs, yes, he should get volume when that offense is clicking. But again, it is the Patriots. I do consider him having limited upside. Like, is he going to go out there and score 3+ touchdowns? Probably not. Does Jamar Chase have a better chance to do that? Yes, he does. I think he has more upside here in this game script. And then we also have to go down to Hunter Renfrow. I was actually surprised at this ownership, 31.6% ownership. I think he's a very obvious target as well. So throw Hunter Renfrow in the mix. I think he's very cash viable. 13.5 fantasy point projection. I like the over on that as well. I'm not going to say it's one of my favorites, but I do like 13.5 the over. He's going to see so much volume, especially in the game script where these guys should fall behind. It's obvious that the Bengals are the better team here, the better offense at least. So I do consider Hunter Renfrow a good candidate here for cash games and a safer option. You look at some of these other cheaper options besides Tyler Boyd, Cole Beasley, yes, he is viable, but he has been taking a drop off in terms of his volume share. Gabriel Davis with Emmanuel Sanders back doesn't really draw that much attention to me. Emmanuel Sanders has been taking a drastic drop-off in terms of production, so I really don't like these other cheaper options. Jacoby Myers at $5,000 and also Kendrick Bourne, I actually do like when you compare them to the Bills, just because they are on the field more often than not, and they are more involved in the offense. They're on the field significantly more of a snap count percentage time than the Buffalo Bills. So, pecking order, if we're talking about wide receivers, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Hunter Renfrow, and then Jamar Chase for me. Those are the most obvious cash options. And then, of course, if you can land on Stephon Diggs, I definitely don't hate that as well. Switching over to the tight end picture here, Darren Waller is back, and he's expected to play the full game, his full workload. He has to. If they're going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, they need Darren Waller to be on the field, at least from a decoy perspective, right? So at least he's going to be on the field. Darren Waller at a 10.5 point projection. Again, I like the over on that as well. 58.2% owned. He is very high owned. I believe he's the highest owned on the slate. Let's actually take a look. He's the second highest owned on the slate next to Joe Mixon. I love Darren Waller. He has to be involved in this offense. He just has to be. They have no choice. $5,700. I get that he's expensive when you look at these other tight ends, but he's chalk. He's going to be an obvious play. I think you just got to eat the chalk there and run the way with it. Uzma is another guy who is on the field a lot. I like him for a punt option if you're looking to pay down at another position. I think this is a good spot where you can do it. $3,500 does make sense. He's on the field just as much as Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, and he has an 8-point projection, so I don't mind him as well. The other guys are just going to be GPP options. I'm not going out of my way to target Knox or Henry. Darren Waller and Uzma are a lot more favorable, and they have a way better matchup in my opinion. Last but not least is the defense. The Bills are going to be the obvious lock. The Bills are the Patriots. If you're playing Josh Allen, you probably shouldn't play the Patriots defense, and if you're playing Mac Jones, you probably shouldn't play the Bills. So depending on your build, where you're going to go, I'm probably not going to play Mac Jones, so I'm going to be locking in the Bills defense. I think they're the most obvious play on the slate. Let's actually crunch by my projections here and see what we're looking at. It looks like I was able to get Joe Mixon and some of these other Raiders wide receivers, and it looks like it did fade Jamar Chase. So Joe Mixon, T. Higgins found his way in there based on just my raw projections, and then Bryan Edwards was my last piece here at $3,300. Zay Jones at a 9-point projection. That's another guy that is flying under the radar. They're going to need a lot of wide receiver depth here in this game, and that is coming straight from Prize Picks. So Zay Jones at $4K, definitely don't hate him. But if you're looking at this from an ownership percentage projection, this is definitely more of a contrarian lineup, and I'm looking to stack Josh Allen with another guy if I am playing GPPs. But those are my favorite plays. If I had to lock in a core right now, I would lock in Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Devin Singletary, and then obviously the Bills defense. I think they are in line for a great game. I think they're a very safe bet here going against Mac Jones and that Patriots offense. And that will wrap up my video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this content. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future NFL content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.